Alright, today we're going over section 2.3. And this is on the multiplication property of equality. Okay, now what the multiplication property of equality says is this. It says that if A is equal to B, then A times C is equal to B times C. So if A is equal to B, then A times C is equal to B times C. So you can multiply the same number on both sides of an equation. Okay, so let's look at some examples using this property. All right, number 1, 4/5 x equals 16. Okay, now we want to solve for x, so we need to get rid of the 4/5 that's in front of the x. Now, to get rid of the 4/5, you can multiply by the reciprocal, because if you multiply a number times this reciprocal, it gives you 1, right? Anytime you multiply like 4/5 times 5/4, it would simplify to give you 1. And that way you would have 1x on the left, or just x. So we're going to multiply each side by the reciprocal of the fraction in front of x. So we're going to multiply 5/4 times 4/5 x. And then we have to multiply 5/4 times 16, because what you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. So if you multiply one side by 5/4, you have to multiply the other side by 5/4. And see, the reason we did that, see, that would make it cross out on the left. It crosses out to give you 1s there, which is just 1x, which is the same thing as just x. And then we just work out the right-hand side, put your 16 over 1, and remember when you're multiplying, you can cross out. 4 goes into 4 and 4 goes into 16. So 4 goes into 4 one time, 4 goes into 16 4 times. So we get 20 over 1, which simplifies to just 20. So the answer to that one is 20. Now you could check it just by putting 20 in place of x and working it out. So we have 4 times 20 equals 16. Now we'll just work out each side. Make sure we get the same thing on each side. So put your 20 over 1. Now remember, when you're multiplying fractions, you can cancel out. 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 goes into 20 4 times. So we get 16 over 1 equals 16. Or 16 equals to 16. So it worked. So the solution is x equals 20. Okay, so if you have a fraction in front of x, what you do is you multiply each side by the reciprocal to get rid of that fraction that's in front of x. Okay, number 2, you have something like this. 8x equals to negative 96. 8x equals to negative 96. Let's see, we don't want to know what 8x is, we want to know what x is. So we want to make it so that it's 1x. So if you have 8 multiplied by x, to get rid of that 8, you could divide by x, because 8 divided by 8 is 1, so that way it would give you 1x like you need. So we're going to divide the left-hand side by 8. Now if you divide the left side by 8, you have to divide the right side by 8 too. So that cancels out. So you get x is equal to a negative let's see, 8 on that one time. Yeah, it's negative 12. And then if you want to check your answer, you're just going to put negative 12 in place of x. So 8 times negative 12 equals to negative 96, and then work it out, and you do get negative 96 on both sides. So that is your answer. All right, number 3, if you have one like this, x over 5 is equal to 13. X over 5 equals to 13. Now we have a 5 in the denominator here, and we want it to cancel out. So we need a 5 in the numerator, right, to cancel out with that 5 in the denominator, so we just have x, or 1x. So we need to multiply each side by x here, by 5 here, so that we get x by itself. So we have 5 times x over 5 equals to 5 times 13. See, now this 5 over here is the same thing as 5 over 1. So you can see that those two 5s would cancel out right there. So that all you have left is x on the left, and then 5 times 13 is 65. Okay, and you would check it the same way as you did the other ones. So put 65 over 5 equals 13, and then divide it, and you would get 13 equals 13. So it checks. Okay, if you have one like this, negative 5/3 x equals to 4/7. And this is kind of like that first example that we did. Okay, you want to get rid of that fraction that's in front of x, that's multiplied by x. So to get rid of a fraction in front of x that's multiplied by x, you're going to multiply each side by the reciprocal of that fraction. So we're going to multiply each side by negative 3/5. So you're going to multiply negative 3/5 times negative 5/3 x. And then you've got to multiply negative 3/5 on the other side times the 4/7. Now, you know it's going to be positive now on the left like you want it to be. And you can see that those 3's are going to cancel out to just give you 1s, and the 5's are going to cancel out to just give you 1s. So that's the same thing as just x over there like you want it. And then if we work out the other side, we know when the signs are different, you get a negative answer. Let's see, nothing crosses out. So you just get 12 over 35. So it's negative 12 over 35. Okay, now sometimes you may have more than one step in the problem. We'll have to combine what we did last time and what we're doing today. So you might have to add, use the addition property, and use the multiplication property. Okay, so on this one, the first thing we need to do is we need to get the negative y by itself. So we have to get rid of the plus 3. So to get the plus 3 to go away, we're going to subtract 3 from each side. Because 3 minus 3 is 0, so that would make it go away from the left side. So you get negative y equals negative 11. Now, I know I told you last time when you get something like this, you just change the sign on each side. Now I'm going to show you why. Now, that negative y is the same thing as negative 1y. You just don't put the 1 there. So to finish solving this, you would have to divide each side by the number that's multiplied by y. So you're going to have to divide each side by negative 1. So y would be equal to 11. So that's why the sign changes on each side. You're actually dividing by a negative 1. Okay, let's look at this one next. 6b minus 11b equals 18 plus 2b minus 6 plus 9. Okay. Now, just like before, the first thing you want to do is simplify each side of that. Combine any like terms that you can on each side. So on this left side here, I can put those b's together. And 6 minus 11 is negative 5, so that would just be negative 5b. So that left-hand side simplifies to negative 5b. Now the right-hand side, there's nothing I can combine with this 2b, so I'm just going to bring it down. But I can put all these numbers together. 18 minus 6, that's 12. And 12 plus 9 is 21. So that simplifies to 2b plus 21. Now remember, your next step is to get all your b's on one side. Once you simplify each side, you want to get it so that all your variable terms are on one side of the equation. So we need to get rid of that 2b that's on the right side of the equation. So let's subtract 2b from each side. So I get negative 7b is equal to 21. Okay, and now we've learned how to get rid of that number in front of b, that negative 7 that's multiplied by it. To get rid of that, so that it's just a b there, you're going to divide each side by negative 7. So that's b is equal to negative 3. And you know, you could check it to make sure it's right by plugging negative 3 in for all your b's in the problem, in the original problem, and make sure you get the same thing on each side. Alright, number 7, if we have 10x minus 4 equals to 7x plus 14. Now, the first thing you want to do is get all your x's on one side. So subtract 7x on each side. So that leaves you with 3x minus 4 equals 14. Now, the next step is to get that 3x by itself. So we need to get rid of that minus 4. To get rid of minus 4, you're going to add 4 to each side. It's going to cancel on the left side, so you have 3x equals 18. Then you divide each side by 3, so that you get x all by itself. So x equals 6. Okay, we're going to do one more example. 5 times 2x plus 3 in parentheses equals to negative 1 plus 7. So we need to simplify each side first. So let's do this distributive property on the left side. 5 times 2x is 10x plus 5 times 3 is 15 equals to, and on the left-hand side you can combine those two terms. They're like terms. Negative 1 plus 7 is 6. The next step is to get the 10x by itself. So subtract 15 from each side. And you get 10x equals negative 9. And then you divide each side by what's in front of x. So x is equal to, and this one's just going to be a fraction because you can't simplify negative 9/10. So the answer there would just be negative 9/10.